Right. Well, welcome, Marnie, to the Soul Journey, Season 2, Episode 3. Thank you for being here. I would like to start by introducing Marnie, a single mom and author of 2 books, a certified hypnotherapist, a past life regressionist, and a Reiki master. With more than 20 years' experience, she is also a certified intuitive psychic and
Mm.
a traumatic brain injury survivor. So, welcome to the Soul Journey series. I'm so happy to have you here. Let's start with our questions. First of all, the first question is, what would you like to share about your life journey so far that has led you to become a healer?
Oh, there's been so many twists and turns that my life has taken to get me to where I am, and so many, I don't know, lightning bolts, I guess you could say, or hammers over the head. I mean, sometimes we just don't listen to what the universe is trying to tell us. And but I think probably the biggest one that finally led me out of traditional life and into really embracing being a psychic and being a healer was a severe bicycle accident that I had 8.5 years ago. It involved a severe brain injury, bleeding on the brain. I broke my neck, broke my back. And even after that, I still didn't wake up. It still took another couple of years, to be honest, after that before I fully embraced everything. But I knew that the accident was a wake-up call, and it was just a matter of time before I extricated myself from the traditional life that I had been involved in.
Yeah. Well, that,
It just going backwards, I mean, I started my journey into healing back in 1999, shortly after I left my ex-husband, and that was when I obtained my certification in hypnotherapy, past life regression. I did a certificate in holistic health and healing, and I also obtained my Reiki master's in I did Reiki 1 and Reiki 2 in 1999, and then I obtained my master's in 2001. So this has been a long journey of sort of dipping my toes in the water and then going back and dipping my toes in the water and going back. But, you know, here I am.
but I think that's a journey of a healer, right? Sometimes, like my path didn't start 6 years ago. My path started when I was very young, and like you said, you dip your toe in and then you come back out. You learn something, then you come back out, and then just life keeps evolving. And as you keep evolving, you meet new tools, new things. So you keep kind of growing and healing, right?
Well, and I think part of it too was the coming into my own. I always refer to it as coming out of my chrysalis finally, and really birthing into the butterfly. And that's why I call my company Intuitive Butterfly, because it really was about growing up as the caterpillar, as the black sheep of the family, the non-acceptance of the gifts that I had and that I was exhibiting. I was always psychic. I was always the counselor. When I was in public school, all of the kids used to come to me for advice. But the family dynamic was always, oh, push it off to the side. And so there was that imposter syndrome within myself that I really had to tackle.
Yeah, no, I totally understand how somebody with skills, the healer skills, they can really feel deeply. Some people don't look at those as the value that they truly have, right? They see them as like, oh, that doesn't matter, like blah 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 blah. Right. So yes, I understand having skills that not everybody understands. So yeah, it can
Yeah,
definitely be a very lonely path for sure. Yeah.
yeah.
Well, I'm glad you're here and you have healed and you've gotten to this point of your life. And which leads me to the next question, which is, have you discovered your life purpose? And if you have, how did that occur?
I'm still trying to figure out what I want to be when I grow up.
that's, I think those are the most interesting people that you ever meet. It's like, yeah, I'm all these things, but man, these things are things I want to try, right?
So, have I discovered my life purpose? I do feel like my life purpose is to work as a counselor, counseling people, guiding people, aiding people to change and alter their own life. And I do feel like I am a catalyst for change in people's lives. And one of the sayings that comes up regularly for me is people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. And I have been told by many people that I am the reason person that comes into people's lives, and I tend to come into their lives and I will say or do something in a session or say or do something, and all of a sudden they'll go, "Oh," and off they go. And I'm like, "What did I say?" So I do feel that's my life purpose, despite the fact that um, it didn't come to me as, "Oh, when I grow up, I'm going to be this."
Yeah.
It, it took a long time before I realized that doing what I do and just being there for people and listening and being able to see things differently from quite often when you're caught up in a situation, because a lot of people come to me with their problems. As a counselor, that's why people come to me. And they're so caught up in it, they've got blinders on and they can't see that there are different avenues or paths that they can take. And as a psychic, as a counselor, I can see that there's something else. And by being able to guide them or just say something and have them go, "Oh," and off they go, that really is my life purpose. How I translate that into my remaining years, I don't know.
But that's the fun of it, right? You get to discover something new and something different, right? And I think that's what people
Yeah.
understand about the job of even being a healer, that it's not a static job. You're always learning. You yourself are healing and evolving and learning. So there's always new opportunities ahead of you, right? Oh,
Yeah,
that's wonderful. I'm
definitely.
glad. Yeah, you're a way shower. You're somebody that helps somebody clarify their point of view and their path, right? And I
Uh-huh.
understand kind of like as a psychic, you can see lots of different branches of different opportunities that that person can take, and it all depends on their choice, right? So when people go, "Will this
Yeah.
happen?" It's like, of course it can happen, but so can this and this and this. So you have to choose, right? It's like choose your own
Yeah,
adventure.
and it's about guiding people that I mean, I work with the tarot, and one of the cards that comes up quite often when people come to me with problems is the Eight of Swords.
Hmm.
And the Eight of Swords is all about taking responsibility in your own life, right? You feel like you're bound up. You feel like your arms are tied together. You feel like you're blindfolded. You feel like you can't go anywhere. Well, why is that? Oh, I one of the ones I always get, "Oh, I'm stuck in this horrible relationship." So then leave.
Right.
"Oh, I can't leave because of this reason, that reason, this reason."
Yeah.
Okay, well, you just answered your own question, right?
Exactly. Yeah. No, I'm quite familiar with the Eight of Swords. It's come up on my readings a lot of times. And it is kind of you're limiting yourself from making choices, right?
Right. And I feel like the Eight of Swords is kind of, um, I mean, it's been my guide for my own healing journey of having to take responsibility for where I'm at in my life, every single step. Like, even if I'm broken down on the side of the road, why am I broken down on the side of the road? Well, probably because I didn't look after my tires. So I got a flat. Like, or even if it wasn't because I wasn't taking care of my tires and I got a flat, looking at it and going, "Okay, what's the lesson in this for me?" That is Eight of Swords, not sitting on the side of the road like a victim, but sitting on the side of the road going, "Okay, I got a flat tire. What's the lesson? Can I fix this myself? Am I empowered enough to do this?" All of that is part of what I put out into the world, and therefore, like I said, I end up being a catalyst.
Yeah. No, I like that. And I've never heard of it, the Eight of Swords as taking accountability. I love that. Because you always think of it
Uh-huh.
like overburdening thoughts, lack mentality, victim mentality, like you mentioned. But you're right. This is an opportunity for you to go, oh yeah, I can get rid of my own like my own um, restrictions and lift my eyes and then take responsibility for feeling like I'm caged, right?
Right.
I like that. I
Yeah.
like that description.
Yeah.
Which then comes, I know you've mentioned a few already, but what are some of the challenges you faced during your healing journey?
Um, well, like I said, probably the biggest one to overcome, and I will admit that it still comes up sometimes, and we have conversations, or shall I say, I slap it a few times, and that would be the imposter syndrome. That would be the big one.
Mm.
And um, the imposter syndrome comes up, and it's either my mother's voice or my father's voice in my head.
Yeah.
And I've just come up with certain techniques about, nope, be quiet, and I'm actually at the point where it's not just about telling that voice that it has no business being in my head anymore, but now it is also about taking that physical action and removing that energy from my aura, from my chakras. Sometimes when the imposter presents itself, it'll present itself in my throat, and I'll have to be like, no, like we're gonna pull you out. You don't belong there.
Mhm.
I'm going to speak my truth. And so yeah, that the imposter syndrome would definitely be one of the challenges. Um, and I mentioned earlier the accident that I had 8.5 years ago.
Yeah.
And there was, when I had that accident, not once, not once after I had it did I say, oh, why did this happen to me? Oh, there was no woe is me. There was absolutely, why did this happen to me? What wasn't I paying attention to? What do I need to change in my life? There was a lot of that going on. And that went on for 3 years before I finally made that huge shift out of the corporate 9 to 5, my son going to school, me dropping him off and not being involved in his life regularly, which is what I had wanted. And so, yeah, it comes down to how you ask the questions
Yeah, because
after,
yeah, because
after there's an awakening type accident. It's how you ask the questions, what questions are you asking, and where are you looking for the answers? Because if you're looking for the answers outside of yourself, you are still a victim.
yeah, yeah, it's going from why did this happen to me to saying why um this happened for me, right? That's the
Yeah.
difference. Yeah. Wow.
Yeah.
And it
And
takes
like
bravery,
I
like
said, it's shifting from victim into empowered. What did I miss? This happened for a reason. And it doesn't matter whether it's an accident, whether, oh my God, the image that just came to mind as a clairvoyant, whether you step in dog dirt on your way to a job interview. Sorry, I had to share it and bring
yeah,
some
no, I
humor
love
into it
it.
because
I
it's
love
kind of a
it.
heavy topic. But regardless of what happens, instead of saying, oh, why did this happen to me? I'm a victim. Say,
Yeah.
why did this happen? What wasn't I paying attention to? Was I not, you know, and that shifts us out of it, it re-empowers us.
Right, because if it's something that you're looking at, then you can, like you said, take that self-empowerment back, and it's not outside of you any longer, it's from within. So then you can make a shift
Yeah.
from within, right? No,
Yeah.
that's
So, I
um,
mean, even the example that just came up psychically to me of going to an important job interview or what you view as an important job interview and stepping in some dog do right before you're supposed to go in, which means you're going to smell bad, your shoes horrible and whatever. Maybe that happened because the universe was trying to say, this isn't the right job for you. Right. So,
Yeah,
there are signs that the universe gives us, even if they're disgusting.
I hear you. Yeah. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
sometimes I get images too in my head and I go, "Okay, take this with a grain of salt, but this is what they're showing me." But it's accurate, right? Like,
Yeah.
it's a good
And
example.
I do that all the time. I have a YouTube channel, and Claire audience comes in sometimes and I'm like, I can't say that, and it'll come in over and over until I actually
Yeah,
verbalize it. I'm like,
yeah,
and then people say to me, the most powerful part of your reading was when you blurted something out.
yeah, yeah, yeah. Because sometimes we try to filter it through a human mind and go, I can't say it like that." And then you say it, you're like, "Oh, yeah, no, that needed to be said exactly like that. Yes, okay, thank you."
Yeah,
I
exactly.
I
Yeah.
I hear you, I hear you. Which now moves us to our next question, which is, what is the one lesson you, have learned and share with people all the time? So what's one life
Yeah.
lesson that you've learned?
So actually, I put it in the book that I wrote, which is called Memoirs of a Single Traveling Mom. And the lesson is, you are always going to encounter speed bumps. It's the universe's way of putting up little tests to make sure that you are, in fact, committed to the path that you're walking. If you are always hitting roadblocks, you're on the wrong road. And the universe is trying to tell you that. But if it's a speed bump, if it's something that's just, it gets in your way and you're like, oh, and then you go to bed, you sleep that night, and the next day you get up and you actually get to work on it and you sort it out and you resolve the issue and move on. That's a speed bump. And
Yeah,
that's the universe saying, are you sure you want to do this? Are you sure you want to do this? Right? Whereas if you hit a wall in trying to push forward on something and you hit another wall and they seem insurmountable and they continue to build, that's the universe going, look, sweetheart, free will or not, you're not on the right path and we're trying to help.
yeah,
So
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
try and learn in your own life and differentiate between a speed bump and a roadblock.
That is a very good skill to have, right? Because sometimes a speed bump can look like a roadblock, but then you go over it easily and go, "Oh, well, that was just it. Okay, no problem." But yeah, and sometimes you can't
Yeah.
really see the roadblock because you're like in it, right? So
Yeah.
it's a good skill to have. Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
So that's a wonderful example. That is a very good life lesson. Yeah. And which brings us to our next question, which is, what does healing mean to you?
Healing's a journey. It's not it's not a solitary step into 100% wellness. It is about continuing to learn, continuing to grow. I mean, can you consider a broken bone healed? Yes. Can you consider a torn ligament healed? Yes. But in healing that ligament or healing that bone, it was more than healing the physical. There were lessons in that. If you tear a ligament, what's the lesson behind it? It's to slow down most often. Slow down, look around. Perhaps you did it because you weren't paying attention to um, the smaller details, whatever the case may be. And people will argue and say, no, well, I healed this. Yes, you did. But it was a journey to get into that. Right. And sometimes it's not about healing the physical. Sometimes it's about healing the mental, healing the emotional. What are we stuffing down each day when we look at the emotional aspects? Right. And emotional healing and psychological healing, I would say, is a lifelong journey. Sure, you can heal the other stuff, but look at the lessons in the physical healing as well.
Yeah. Yeah, that's something that I'm learning a lot about too, about how much your body stores trauma and emotion, and things kind of can really get buried down there, right? And
Yeah.
sometimes they come up
Yes.
and you don't even realize that you're healing something from 12, 30 years ago, right? Like, so it's a healing journey
Yeah.
is
So
quite interesting.
I don't consider healing a destination. It's a journey. And for everything that you heal and release, a little bit more has the opportunity then to bubble up that you can heal. And each time you heal that, you also grow emotionally, you grow spiritually, you grow in your awareness of the world around you. Um, look at, for example, look at someone who is elderly that sees something on TV, for example, that upsets them, but they understand that they have zero control over, versus someone who's 18 or 20 that sees the same thing on TV that upsets them in the same way. But they don't have the maturity and the life experiences to understand that standing up and slamming your drink down on the table, yelling at the TV, yes, that's an emotional release for you, but it's still not going to bring in the control that you don't have some control over something. Whereas the elderly person might just go, oh, bah, huh, and they're going to move on. So if you look at the emotional reactions of the young versus the elderly, you can see that healing emotional reactions to things is a lifelong journey and not a destination.
Yeah, definitely. And I think the older we get, the more we realize that what really matters is what we think of ourselves and how we can, that we only have control over our thoughts, our reactions, and our emotions, right? Everything else is just kind of, you got to let it be what it
Exactly.
is, right?
Yeah.
For sure.
Don't stress over that which is not within your control,
Beautifully
you
said.
know? And more we are realizing that united we stand, divided we fall. And so if there is something we're passionate about, find our tribe, and within the tribe you might be able to take action that you could not have as an individual. But either way, it's about gaining that maturity, that emotional maturity, that psychological maturity, being able to see life without, as I mentioned before, without the blinders on.
Yeah, very good. Yeah, definitely. With that being said, the next question is, what do you love most about your gifts and your healing talent?
Yeah. I love watching people transform. And it's funny because one of my favorite sayings is, karma's a bitch not because she's going to come around and bite you, but because she doesn't always let you see her in action. You just have to trust that she's going to do her job. Okay. And
Beautiful.
one of the lessons I had to learn is that the healing modalities I practice, the hypnotherapy, the past life regression, the counseling, the doing psychic readings along with counseling, because let's face it, a lot of people go to a psychic reading or a tarot reading and they get information that may not be sunshine, roses, and unicorns, and they walk out not knowing what to do with it. And that's why I trained and took the counseling, because it brings it to the next level. But where I was going with that is that these modalities are not instant fixes. There is no instant gratification. So unfortunately, as much as people will walk away from a session with me going, I feel better, I don't get to see that. I don't always get to see that in action unless a client contacts me 6 months later and goes, oh my gosh, this has changed. This has changed. And that's what I love. You know, being out on the street and bumping into someone. This happened to me actually recently, where I had had an online client for quite some time, and then I was visiting the city where the client lived, and we ended up bumping into each other. Like, I was walking out of the bank and they were walking into the bank, and it's like, "You look familiar." Oh my gosh. And so we ended up chit-chatting. We hadn't seen each other for probably about 8 or 9 months, and their whole side of the conversation was, "This changed because of what you said, and that changed because of what you said, and I changed this," and and that that's why I do what I do.
Yeah.
And like I
I
said, uh, there is no instant gratification, but it's the 6 months, 8 months later when people reach out and say, "It changed me."
yeah. Well, we're way showers, right? We plant seeds, and then it's up to the person whether they're going to water them or not, right? But it's lovely to see when they come back to you and they're fully grown trees, right? So I understand that. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just talking about that. Yeah, and that is, and you're not doing it because um in a selfish or egotistical way. You're doing it because you see their beautiful soul, knowing that it's ready for transformation, and you're just kind of helping them kind of, you know, open the cocoon a little bit so they could just get out and
Yeah,
for
yeah,
sure.
and
Yeah,
the more people that I can be the catalyst in their life and help them to, you know, the more people that I can be the hanged man, which is seeing things from a different perspective in their lives, the better. Open their eyes and let them say, it's not about this, it's about that.
yeah, totally. Yeah, totally understand that. Now, with that said, too, we can move to the next question, which is, what do your gifts and talents, how do your gifts and talents make you unique?
Mm. Um, I think the ability to be able to see the bigger picture, like when somebody has their blinders on and being able to see that there is not just one path in front of them, there's actually three different paths that they could take, and being able to open their eyes, their heart, their minds to other possibilities that are out there. Um, and I think bringing how do I put this? Bringing accountability to the table. So as a catalyst and as a counselor, I'm there to help you heal. I'm not there to allow you to self-wallow. And people may not like that, and they
Mhm.
might not like my bedside manner when I call them out on their BS,
Yeah,
but sometimes that's what people need because that's the catalyst,
yeah,
you know?
yeah, yeah. No,
You know,
you're right.
I
Making them
and going
accountable.
back to what yeah, and going back to what I was saying before about, you know, not having that instant gratification. I've had at least 3 clients when I've called them out and they've said, "Oh, I can't make that change because I can't make that," and I've gone, "That's an excuse."
Mhm.
"Well, I can't," that's an excuse. "Well, that's an excuse." I've actually had 3 clients in my history go click and turn off the computer and walk away. They won't return phone calls, no nothing. 2 of those 3, one of those clients was very recent, but 2 of those 3 clients were a year and a half ago. They've reached out and said, "You know, it took me a long time to see it, but it was because you kept telling me I was making excuses that I finally changed."
Mhm. Yeah.
And so part of my own journey too is not taking that personally. They hung up on me because they weren't ready to hear and to see, and
Mhm.
yet I was still a catalyst. It took a while, but all of a sudden they went, that's an excuse.
Right. And change, like we change due to different things. We change sometimes, well, first of all, we only change because we want to. And then other times we change just because we have to, right? So,
Mhm.
and I understand that tough love because sometimes you get to a point and you're like, I I'm going to be that counselor, that healer, that even just even as a parent, right, where you are not going to let your child not be accountable for their actions, right? Like you know that you can't do anything for them if they don't choose to change, right? And if it's
Yeah,
affecting them, you're going to go, well, this is what I see, you know? So I agree
yeah,
with you. And sometimes, yeah, sometimes you have to call people out and go, well, is that the truth or is that what you want to tell yourself, right?
yeah. And I would say that's probably one of the most difficult things. And honestly, the person in my life that keeps me on my toes and calls me out on my BS is my 15-year-old son.
I have a
So if you
17-year-old and
want
he
someone if you want someone that knows how to push your buttons and call you out on your BS,
have a teenage
look at
boy,
your
right?
kids.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I
Look at
totally
your kids because
agree.
they'll do it. And the reason why in the past there was so much strife between parents and children is because the parents weren't willing to see the wiseness of their children. How can he call me out on that? He's not smarter than I am. I'm the adult. That's
Yeah,
been that was my parents' philosophy. That was my grandparents' philosophy, and so on. Whereas when he calls me out on it, I have to sit back and go,
yeah. You go, oh,
"Oops,
okay, I
I
got it.
know," or I have to issue an apology, or I have to say to him, "You're right," and you know, I'm that to some of my clients, and it's very, very uncomfortable, but it is also really empowering.
Mm. And rewarding when you can take that and go, no, I'm going to choose to be different, right? I'm going to choose to be different because I need to prove not only to myself but to this person that I can be different, right? Because sometimes some
Yeah.
people need the challenge. Some people need to go, I know you can do better. And they go, well, no, okay, all right. I'll show you I can do better, right? Right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Definitely.
So one of the other things that does make me a little bit different is if I'm in a tarot reading or psychic reading with someone and I can see that they're just not like it's just not sinking in. Like they're hearing the words, but it's not sinking in, or I can see them struggling. They know they need to release something. With the counseling, as well as with the hypnotherapy, as well as with the Reiki, I bring more things to the table. I mean, I can't tell you the number of times that a tarot reading has turned into, all right, are you open to brief meditation and release? And, you know, turn it into something that they never saw it coming. And yet they walk out going, I needed that, you know? So, I mean, at one time when I was doing all of these trainings, training to be psychic and training to do tarot cards and training Reiki and holistic health and all of this stuff, I thought, why am I killing myself? Like, why can't I just find one thing? Why can't I be like the little kids that say, when I grow up, I'm going to be a fireman, or when I grow up, I'm going to be a nurse? And why can't I be like that? And yet now, moving into my 50s, I recognize the benefit of bringing more than one speciality to the table.
Yeah, that's right. Because what it happens is you can have someone in front of you and you pull all these different modalities and you help them in the whole, right? And that's
Yeah,
exactly with me too. Like I have a specific service that it's coaching, but also Reiki. So I call it like the mind, body, and spirit kind of realignment because it's all of it at once. And there's a huge
absolutely.
difference, right, between just
Yeah.
talking
Because we
and
aren't
just
just
talking.
we aren't just skin suits with brains and hearts, right? We're so much more. And so, yeah, I love it when I see people such as yourself and a lot of your other guests where they bring something in where we are treating the whole person.
Yes. Yeah, no, it's true. So the next question is, what projects are you working on right now?
I am working on it's going to be a long time coming, but it is a coaching program, but like I'm not a coach, that will consist of in-person sessions with me, including hypnosis, counseling, and past life. It is an accountability program. And then to back that up, there will also be um, meditations, pre-recorded meditations that I will put out there for the clients to listen to in between our sessions to reinforce what they're learning. And it's, I would call it an empowerment, but an empowerment program or an accountability program, a responsibility program. I don't really have a name for it yet, but it's in the works, and I don't want to put something out there that is just another online class, because I find that as much as people spend money on them, they don't put as much value or priority on something that is pre-recorded. And so I really want to step away from what we've all become or tried to become accustomed to in the last 3 or 4 years since that little thing went around the world. Um, I really want to get back to working with people and not working, for me, it's about quality, not quantity.
Mm, yeah, yeah. And I think there's an authenticity and an energy sometimes that can get transmitted, or that connection that can happen when you're live, right? When you're live talking to a person, then if they're just kind of taking your online class, right? So I find that too
Yeah.
as well. People purchase a class but don't finish it because it's like they kind of get lost in the middle when there's some either a challenge or some hard work that needs to get done. They just kind of, all right, you know. So yeah, I understand that the want to have that one-on-one for sure.
Yeah,
Well, that
and
sounds
I find
very
too
exciting.
I find a lot of the online classes get pushed to the side and pushed to the side. Oh, I'll do that later. Oh, I can watch that before bed tonight, and then they fall asleep, or Netflix is more fun, or, whatever. There's a lot of excuses why not to do the online classes versus, when you have a firm set appointment to be face to face with someone on camera, you put more, I don't know, more value in that. And
Yeah,
so that's what I'm working towards right now.
yeah, and it's the investment of your time, right? Because you know that person's showing up for you, therefore you're showing up for yourself as well, right?
Yeah.
So the next question is, what services do you provide and why?
I
Because
think
I know
we've
there's a
kind of
plethora
covered
of
that.
things.
So, so as I mentioned, I am a Reiki master. I don't teach Reiki. I just found that that wasn't really my niche after I became a master. Um, I am a certified hypnotherapist. I am a certified past life regressionist. I hold my certificate from Seneca College in holistic health and healing, including looking in depth into the diets that we keep and how those affect us. I'm a certified iridologist as well. That one I kind of keep in my back pocket because since everyone's gone online, it's next to impossible to do an iridology reading on anyone. Want to see my eyeball? Um, as I mentioned, I've also taken innumerable courses in tarot reading, intuitive development, psychic development, oracle card readings. Um, I've also done a couple of courses in mediumship. So, yeah, there's that. And then even following the brain injury, I went back to school at the university level and obtained my certificate in counseling. So that's me in a nutshell.
So are those services something that they can just reach out and ask you about, and then you can kind of connect with that person? Or is that something that you have your services and a list of the investments in a website, in your anywhere that they can find?
Yeah, so if you go to intuitivebutterfly.com/services, all of my services are listed on my webpage, and you can sign up for them. If you are interested in hypnotherapy, the hypnotherapy and past life regression is a little bit more expensive, especially for the first session, because a first session is anywhere from an hour and a half, upwards of 2 hours, depending on the issue that you're bringing forward. And so that is more expensive. But follow up hypnosis sessions, the price drops back down because you don't need as much time for those sessions. And I don't do straight Reiki sessions online because I found that I just wasn't seeing results. But that's not to say that I don't integrate Reiki into, for example, if I have someone who is hypnotized and they are experiencing some trauma and some release, then by all means, I activate and I'm in there and the Reiki is flowing. So yeah, but yeah, check out my website and you'll see what's on there, and we'll go from there.
Would
And if
you
you have
kind of
any questions, I'm open to just send me an email.
Perfect. Okay, which kind of answers the next question, which is where can people how can people get hold of you? So if you could repeat your website again and your email address and any kind of socials that people can get to you.
Okay. So my webpage is intuitivebutterfly.com. And I also have a Facebook page, Intuitive Butterfly page. And my name, of course, is Marnie McBain. So I'm searchable. And my phone number is also on my webpage. And you can reach me on Telegram, Signal, and WhatsApp. All of them are linked to my phone number as well. So I am available. I'm around. And my email is marnie@intuitivebutterfly.com. So
Wonderful. Well, once again, thank you so much, Marnie, for being here tonight, for taking the time to be here. I'm so glad that we could work this out. The universe has a funny way of pushing you out of your comfort zone sometimes. But that
I
kind of
know.
yeah, that kind of ends our questions. Is there anything you would like to add before we kind of close off this video?
Well, I just want to say thank you, Maria. Thank you for reaching out and giving me, Intuitive Butterfly, the opportunity. Thank you for the beautiful work that you're doing and getting the message of healing and alternative healing. And it's not just about the physical body and taking things. Thank you for sending that message out and spreading that message and providing the platform.
Wonderful. Yes, no, I feel so honored. This was kind of inspired to me by my mentor. We kind of did a live, and I'm like, oh, I could do this. And then universe went, you want it? Here it is, right? So last year,
Yeah.
I had about 14 healers, and this year, I think I have about 14, 15 kind of in a way lined up as well. So I'm excited. I'm excited. All kinds of healers. So thank you so much for being here. And
Yeah, I'm
I
excited.
hope,
I'm excited for you to watch you grow as well. So thank you.
yeah, you're welcome. So I can't wait. I can't wait to maybe have you back again or co-create something together. All right. So goodbye
That
to
would be beautiful.
everybody. Have a wonderful evening day, and we'll see you later. Oh, I think I've lost you. Did I lose you? Marnie, can you hear me?
I can hear you just fine.
Okay. So I think it just went wonky just 2 seconds ago. So,
It did.
okay, wonderful. You know what? I'm going to do it again and maybe cut the beginning. We'll see. Yeah. Okay, and we'll keep going.